the women who are accusing Moore of pursuing them when he was in his 30s and they were teenagers, one as young as 14.
I think he should step aside.
Are you encouraging a write-in campaign with Senator Strange?
That's an option we're looking at, whether or not there is someone who can mount a write-in campaign successfully.
Would it be Senator Strange, do you think?
We'll see.
Or do you believe these allegations to be true?
I believe the women, yes.
He says, I believe the women, yes. All right, CNN's Brianna Killer is up on Capitol Hill. Brianna, this is some very strongly worded language from the Senate Majority Leader.
That's right, Wolf, and it's a significant upgrade from what the Senate Majority Leader said last week, which was that if true, Moore should step aside. And we heard that refrain over and over, including from the White House, if true. But the issue with that was proving it, even though this report from the Washington Post appears to be very credible. 4 women saying that Moore pursued relationships with them while they were in their teens, including a 14-year-old, 2 years younger than the age of consent in Alabama, who said that Roy Moore engaged in sexual contact with her that made her uncomfortable. There's the issue of, well, how do you prove that something is true? It's really about, do you believe the women? And to that point, Mitch McConnell saying that he does believe the women. And this issue of whether there's going to be a write-in candidate on the Republican side instead of maybe voters going for Roy Moore in the December 12th general election, that really is going to be up to the state party. But I'll tell you, the federal apparatus for the GOP is really distancing itself from Roy Moore. The National Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee has said that it has cut its fundraising ties with Moore. But Moore is still saying that this is fake news. He actually tweeted in response to Mitch McConnell saying, quote, the person who should step aside is Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He has failed conservatives and must be replaced. Hashtag drain the swamp. But just a reminder, Wolf, as we look to see how this is all going to play out, there are in this report 24 corroborating witnesses when it comes to these 4 women in the Washington Post report who say that Roy Moore pursued relationships with them while they were teens and he was in his 30s.
The statement from the Senate Majority Leader, Brianna, in contrast to what we're hearing from White House officials, they are all consistently saying that if true, Moore should step aside, but they're not yet declaring that he should step aside.
No, that's exactly right. And of course, President Trump supported Luther Strange, Roy Moore's opponent. But Roy Moore has also made it clear that when he comes to Washington, he does want to back President Trump's agenda. So really, eyes are now on the White House. How is the White House going to respond now that today the Senate Majority Leader has come out and said not just if true Roy Moore should step aside, but that he should step aside and that he does believe Roy Moore's accusers?
All right, Brianna, thanks very much. Brianna Keeler's up on Capitol Hill, and Moore is denying the accusations, and he's now threatening to go after the Washington Post over its initial report.
The Washington Post published another attack on my character reputation in its desperate attempt to stop my political campaign. These attacks either involve a minor child, completely unfalse and untrue, and for which they will be sued.
Jason Carroll's on the ground for us in Alabama right now. Jason, how are voters there reacting to the story?
Well, that's what it really comes down to, doesn't it, Wolf? It comes down to what voters are going to do here in the state of Alabama. We've already heard from state leaders who are basically, for the most part, standing by Roy Moore, but it does come down to the voters. And we spent all day yesterday out with voters yesterday and last night, and what we've really found is the allegations have really confirmed what people really thought about Roy Moore. In other words, if you didn't like Roy Moore before these allegations came out, if you didn't like him then, you like him even less now after the allegations. If you liked him before the allegations came out, after the allegations, a number of folks still standing squarely in his corner saying they believe this is some sort of Democratic Party plot to get him to get out of the race. What we were really looking for was to find out whether or not voters were moving from one box to the other box, Wolf. Haven't found that yet, but want you to listen to what some of the voters told us out here yesterday.
I'm going to compare a man of God who's done everything ever since I've known he existed. I didn't know him when he was 32. He's done everything he said he'd do in politics, which nobody else I know has. And I'm going to compare him with a girl who had a sordid reputation, even in high school. And I know she can change, too, you know, and we forgive and all that, that notwithstanding. But whose word am I going to take? It's not even a close call.
I'm not planning to vote for him, and that's where I'll leave it at this time. Not planning to.
But it sounds like you're on the fence a bit.
I really like his opponent. I kind of like the policies a little bit. And I don't know, Roy Moore feels like a little bit more of a show as opposed to an actual, you know, legitimate, honest, trustworthy candidate.
And Wolf, here's an interesting point where we found voters, regardless of what side that they're on, where they agree. Both sides agree that they feel as though the timing of when the allegations surfaced, they feel as though the timing is suspect. Wolf?
All right, Jason. Thanks very much. Jason Carroll's in Alabama for us. Just in, by the way, Roy Moore's wife is speaking out on the allegations. Hear what she says about the accusers. That's coming up. And CNN is on the ground where an ethnic cleansing massacre is unfolding in Myanmar. Eyewitnesses and survivors describing the horrors. We're going to take you there live.
My boy was just behind me, and they hit him with a wooden stick, and he collapsed to the ground dead. His head was split open.